There is a very specific kind of silence that arrives when both you and the narcissist stop reaching out at the same time. And if you are listening to this right now, you already know that silence is not peaceful in the way silence is supposed to be. It is loud, it hums under your skin, it wakes you up at strange hours. It makes your chest tighten every time your phone lights up and every time it does not. You keep checking, not because you want them back, but because some part of your nervous system cannot believe that the storm has actually stopped, and another part of you is bracing for the next wave that is not coming. You feel relief and panic at the same time, and those two feelings sitting together in your body is one of the most disorienting experiences a human being can go through. If no one has ever told you this directly, let me say it clearly so your mind can finally rest on something true. What you are feeling is not weakness, it is not regression, and it is not proof that you still love them. It is the predictable response of a nervous system that was conditioned to survive inside chaos, suddenly placed inside stillness it does not yet recognize as safe. Before we go any further into what is actually happening inside you and inside them, during this mutual silence, I want you to do one small thing for yourself. If this channel has ever given you a moment of clarity, subscribe right now, because the work we do here is built specifically for people in the exact phase you are in, and you deserve to have this voice show up again the next time your mind starts spinning at 2 a.m. Subscribing is not about supporting me. It is about making sure your future self has access to the truth on the days when your thinking gets cloudy again. Now, let us talk about why mutual no contact often feels more destabilizing than the chaos ever did. When you were inside the relationship, no matter how painful it was, your nervous system had a job. It had something to track, something to predict, something to brace against. Cortisol and adrenaline were doing exhausting but familiar work. Your attention had a target. Your identity had a counterforce pressing against it, which, even though it was harmful, gave you a strange sense of shape. The moment both of you stop reaching, all of that scaffolding collapses at once. There is no one to monitor, no tone of voice to decode, no message to overanalyze, no apology to wait for, no rage to absorb. The threat is gone, but the threat detection system inside you does not know that yet. So it does what it has been trained to do. It manufactures urgency from the inside. It tells you something must be wrong because nothing is happening. That is not your intuition speaking. That is a trauma-conditioned alarm searching for its old job. Silence, in a control dynamic, is never neutral. For most of the relationship, silence was a weapon, a punishment, a test, a manipulation, or the brief calm before another rupture. So your body learned to read silence as a precursor to pain. When both of you stop contacting each other now, your system cannot yet process that this silence is structurally different. This silence is not strategic. It is not engineered to hurt you. It is the sound of a dynamic finally losing its fuel. But because your body does not know the difference yet, it interprets the absence of contact as the loudest possible signal. And that is why you may find yourself flooded with intrusive thoughts, sudden waves of grief, irrational guilt, and the strange compulsion to break the silence just to feel oriented again. That urge to reach out, even when every rational part of you knows better, is not a moral failure. It is your nervous system trying to restore a familiar pattern because familiarity, even painful familiarity, feels safer to the body than the unknown. The brain prefers a known hell over an unknown peace until it is taught otherwise. Every hour you do not act on that urge, you are not just resisting contact. You are actively rewiring your threat response. You are teaching your body that stillness is survivable. You are teaching your identity that it can exist without an opposing force pressing against it. This is slow, quiet, unglamorous neurological work, and it is some of the most important work you will ever do. Now let us turn, carefully and without drama, to what is likely happening inside the narcissistic individual during this same silence. This is not about demonizing them, and it is not about humanizing them in a way that pulls you back. It is about giving you accurate information so your mind stops filling in the blanks with fantasies of remorse or fears of replacement. Individuals with strong narcissistic patterns rely on external regulation. Their internal sense of self is unstable, so they need supply, which is any consistent emotional response from another person, positive or negative, to feel real and in control. When you stop responding and they also stop reaching, something specific happens internally for them. At first, there is often a phase of indifference or distraction, where they redirect attention toward other sources of validation. Then, depending on the depth of the dynamic, there is often a quieter phase where the absence of your reaction becomes psychologically noticeable. Not because they miss you in the way a securely attached person misses someone, but because your absence removes a mirror they were using to regulate themselves. This is not love. This is not awakening. This is a structural discomfort that may or may not surface, and even if it does, it rarely produces lasting change. Understanding this protects you from the most dangerous fantasy in recovery, which is the belief that your silence is finally teaching them something. Your silence is not a lesson for them. Your silence is a return for you. And here is where the power shifts, quietly, almost invisibly, in a way you may not feel for weeks. In a control dynamic, power is maintained through engagement. Whoever cares less, reacts less, and needs less holds the leverage. For a long time, that was them, because your nervous system was wired to respond, to repair, to explain, to soften, to absorb. The moment neither of you reaches, the leverage does not transfer to them, and it does not transfer to you. It dissolves. There is no longer a hierarchy because there is no longer a system, and a narcissistic dynamic cannot survive the dissolution of its hierarchy. This is why mutual silence is so threatening to the structure that hurt you. It is not a pause in the relationship. It is the quiet death of the mechanism that made the relationship possible. I want to pause here for a moment because what I am about to say next is the part many people miss, and it is the part that determines whether this phase becomes a true reset or just another loop. If this video is reaching the part of you that has been waiting to hear the truth without sugarcoating, take 1 second to subscribe and turn on notifications, not as a favor to this channel, but as a small act of commitment to your own clarity. The next time your mind tries to convince you that reaching out is wisdom rather than withdrawal, you will want this voice to find you again. Now,